Well, Facebook friends and everyone else, and YouTubers and everyone that I will upload this video to. Looks like the hour is getting kind of late. It's kind of dark in here. No lights. Got the closet light. I've been looking at a lot of this stuff, and we're seeing all the weird things that are going on. We've seen this for a long time now, and I'm looking like here in Colorado, where we get this oddball weather. It goes way up, it gets warm. You're like, oh man, gotta turn the air conditioner. And then all of a sudden it drops way down. Weird things. I've seen a lot of weird things lately. I'm still getting the BS with this crap. You hear about these FBI vans, that cruise the neighborhood. I think a lot of that is probably, people screwing around on their routers and stuff, and putting that up there for their Wi-Fi. But I have definitely had that, here where I live. They've been sitting in the parking lot across the street. There's a little medical clinic over there. It's like, I don't know, a doctor and something else, a podiatrist or something. And they sit over there, and they're definitely watching me. It's a white Ford panel van, typical government, though it's got civilian plates on it. But yeah, by the way, most of these vehicles have civilian plates now. Take a look at your local city police. It no longer says city of. It's just a regular license plate. Anyway, when I go over there, start to walk over there, they see me and they take off. I don't know why to watch me anymore. Everything that I know about Columbine is out there. It's all over the internet. I've given the DVD that has both the documents, personal notes, samples of the video, all kinds of stuff. I've given that stuff to everybody. So I don't know what in the world is going on. I don't know why they feel they need to do this, because they're doing it in such a sloppy manner that it's not even like surveillance. It's just like, hey, here we are. What are you going to do about it? Duh. So I don't know what that's all about. It's just crazy now. It's just, well, it's getting stupid is what's happening. So I don't know. It's just strange. Not tonight, but last night, had the black helicopter. It came from the east. It hovered around. It went around, I would say, about a 10-block radius. Louder than hell. It was definitely a Black Hawk. Very loud. You could definitely hear it. It took a while to see it because it was at night. You had to look for the running lights. I don't know what they're doing either. That's crazy. But I did notice something today that was very suspicious. And a lady that works at Safeway was telling me about it. She said people were coming into the store, regulars, and saying, hey, have you seen all the hazmat vehicles? Well, unfortunately, I left my cell phone inside at work while I was working outside. By the time I saw the hazmat vehicles and got back inside, they were gone to get my phone, so I couldn't get pictures of them. There were 3 of them. 2 were Adams County hazmat vehicles, and one of them was Colorado State Patrol. And they went down the street. They went down to about 12th, it looks like. 12th down there by the Advanced Auto Parts, and turned. So I don't know where they went or what was going on. Later, there were 2 trucks that are drilling some type of relief hole in the pavement. One at 18th and one on Steel Street and 14th. And they were drilling right through the pavement. There was also a City of Brighton CCT camera vehicle there. I don't know what that's about, but I hear that they're having a lot of blockages in the drain, so maybe the hazmat vehicles dealing with the sewage or whatever. But that's probably nothing. But the FBI vehicle is the one that gets me. The other, and it's got to be FBI, more likely. The other vehicle that I saw later was like a Ford Explorer, one of the newer, bigger ones, not those older, teeny ones, but the newer, bigger ones. It was all black with black mirrors and had a spotlight. It was sitting across the street, at where the old courthouse used to be on Bridge Street. Now, the old courthouse is gone, and that's all just still the big parking lot. Now there is the sheriff's office, the new one that's right down the street, and then there's the little sheriff's building where they keep police cars. It may be that he was just sitting there doing reports or whatever, but lately, I've been on a couple of shows in the past 6 months, and one show I was on talking about, some of these later shootings, including San Bernardino being an obvious, fake shooting, and immediately the harassment starts. The helicopter hovering overhead. The night I was doing the radio show, during the show, the helicopter was hovering overhead. The other night, I was just talking to somebody on Skype about it. It wasn't even a talk show host, just somebody talking to somebody. And I said, they are getting way too out of control with these active shooter drills. They are going bananas with these things, like they expect something big to come. And immediately I started having the internet breaking up, and I'm on broadband, and Comcast hardly ever breaks up like that. The other thing that I've had weird people contact me in the past couple of weeks. Once again, people are just acting strange, so it doesn't necessarily have to be my Columbine research or anything like that. It's, it could just be just saps having a bad day, That's all it could be. It doesn't have to be anything other than that. But I don't like when people, show up when I'm at the store or I'm leaving work or something, and they know my name. And it's, and it's possible that, they've asked around. Maybe, they're looking for someone that does specific things like me, work on computers, web design, graphic design, things like that. But they never asked me, somebody said you know how to fix a computer, Back when the old owner of the apartments ran this place before he died of cancer, he was always having people come to me to fix their computer. So I'm used to people approaching me for that. So, it doesn't bother me. But this is different. There is one guy dressed like a cowboy, old-fashioned cowboy, leather vest, the whole 10-gallon Stetson hat, walking back and forth on Bridge Street, back and forth. And he's got a trash bag in his hand. And I don't know where he comes from. I thought maybe he was really old and was coming from the nursing home. So I watched him, and he walked past the nursing home on that side of the road, which is dangerous because there's no sidewalk over there. But he walked past it and kept going down. And it's a long ways till you come to any houses. It's mostly farmland right in there. But he walks by and he looks at me and starts doing this, just waves and keeps walking. He does it every day. He walks, and he'll walk down to the corner store, which is an old Diamond Shamrock store. Now it's an independent name. A bunch of Muslim guys run it. And he'll walk down there, turn around, and walk back up the street. And he doesn't wave at anybody else, just me. When he goes by, he waves at me. Dude is not right, really. The dude is strange. Now, I will grant you, in these days right now, with the economy the way it is, people freaking out, it's probably nothing. But I've had this before while doing the Columbine research. I had my ignition burned out in 2000. When I was on a talk radio show, afterwards I went to a church in Arvada and was talking about Columbine. There were some people there that knew people from Columbine, and they were just like, you shouldn't be talking about it. That just nobody wants to talk about it. They just want it to go quiet and all this. And I'm like, well, I'm talking to some people down there, and these guys are like, oh, no, don't, you can't do this, the kids are going to get hurt by this. And I said, by what? If the cops drop the surveillance on 2 teen suspects, big deal. It's a lawsuit and it's tragic, but it's not a massive conspiracy. And that is when, at the time I really started the research, was right then and there. I didn't have all the information that I would get in 2001 and 2002 where it would just blow up. I had some good stuff back then, but I wasn't sure of it. Well, anyways, on the way home that night, car started running weird. I don't know what it was. It's a Camaro high mileage V6, 5-speed manual transmission. It quits on I-25. once you get up there by the old mail company, there's a company that did mail fulfillment going north on 25 there. For those of you who live in Denver, you know where that's at. That big purple brick building, they did mail fulfillment. There's a place there you can pull off the roads. You've got about 12, 15 feet on the side of the road so you don't get hit by a car. I mean, it just died. Everything went dead. So I pull over, I open the hood, and the distributor cap is melted. I mean, melted. So I got a screwdriver out of the trunk, popped the cap. Rotor and ignition module were melted. I had to replace a whole distributor. My aunt brought my mom down, and we went to AutoZone and got a complete distributor and popped it in there. Car started right up, and it was fine. There was no electrical wiring problem, nothing, not a thing. I checked the wires and everything. I showed the distributor to a guy in the Air Force, and he says, "Oh, shit." And I said, "What?" He goes, "This was some type of electromagnetic pulse. Something was directed at this." He said, "You've heard of directed energy weapons?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's what did this." He said, "Did the car feel like it got really hot inside?" And I said, "Yeah." And it's like winter, you know. I think, yeah, it was March when that happened. He goes, "Yeah, that was a directed energy weapon." He says, "Somebody was sending a signal in." So I was like, geez, I'm looking into this thing in Columbine and this happens. Other strange things, like the guy that called me from Nevada. Oh, and that's another thing. I got a call on my new cell phone. I got a new phone, better service than Metro PCS. By the way, don't get Metro PCS. It's worthless service. They piggyback off of AT&T's transmitters, and it's horrible. But anyways, I digress. Anyways, I got a call, and it was a 572, and I didn't look up the area code. I was too tired. I don't know where 572 is. But the person left a message, and they're like, "Is this the famous William Zabel?" When people talk like that, they're being smartasses, and they probably don't believe there's a conspiracy to Columbine. I call them back, and they rip me a new one. "Oh, you're crazy. It was Eric Harris who acted alone. Even Dylan Klebold was involved in it." And there is that element within the Columbine community and within the anti-conspiracy movement that Harris acted alone. Klebold had nothing to do with it. They were setting up Klebold and Klebold's family. I proved time and time again that Klebold wasn't even there that day. Neither was Harris. But Thomas Klebold, Dylan Klebold's father, was there, and he was dressed like an FBI hostage rescue team member. I've proven that time and time again. The video is on Facebook, so look at it. Anyways, I called this number back, and it took a while for them to answer, and it didn't go to any kind of message machine, but it rang like 10 times. The guy who picked up acted very suspicious. He says, "I need your full name." And I said, "Well, I'm just calling back because somebody called me on my cell phone." He says, "I need your full name." I said, "William Kent Zabel." So it was a minute, and you could hear computers and stuff running in the background. You know those telephone banks that police departments use that give off that funny noise when you call 911? You're like, "Oh my God, there's a shooting next door, or the guy next door is beating his wife." And you hear that, like a buzzing or that electrical hum. That's what I was hearing. And he says, "Okay, I'll put you through." And he put me through to a guy that wanted to know how I knew about certain things at Columbine. I said, "Well, really, this stuff is not secret, actually, believe it or not. They sent a paper blizzard out to the American public. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office did, and the FBI did, Colorado State Patrol, Colorado Bureau of Investigation. They flooded the American public with tens of thousands of pages of documents that even most parents at Columbine didn't want to read. If you read them and then you went, like I did, and talked to students and compared what they said compared to what other students said who were standing 10, 20 feet away from them and were looking in the same direction, you can tell some kids were told what to say because their statement was too perfect, whereas the students who really did see other suspects were scared to death, and their statement was like, "I don't know. I saw 2, maybe 3 guys. They had guns. I ducked. I hid." And the other one, "I stood there and I saw Eric Harris and he did it alone." That's a fraudulent statement. Well, him and I had a little debate about this. And he's like, There's nothing but Eric Harris there. I said, what about Dylan Klebold? Ah, they just put him in there because his mom's Jewish and that's a bunch of Christian anti-Semites down there. I said, no, dude, there's a lot of Jews down there too. There's a lot of Jewish kids at that school. You know, that's BS. It has nothing to do with anything, man. I said, where do you get that from? You know, he says, well, we know it's Eric Harris. And I said, well, who is we? And he says, I'm not going to tell you who I am. He says, all I'm going to tell you is, he says, don't you think after all these years it's enough? I said, no, it's never enough. I don't know. I said, I will continue this until they either decide to reinvestigate or until somebody who has some nuts that lives down there gets on CNN and says, somebody other than Harris and Klebold killed my child. When that happens, then I'll give it up. And he's all getting all this. It's almost like some kind of official police response. You know, when you accuse a cop of beating someone and they're like, now what are you accusing us of? You better watch it. You better watch it. He had that kind of attitude to him, you know. But it's like, what a bunch of BS, you know. I mean, these guys are all just jacking off. After all these years, ooh, you better watch it. You know, it's like, give me a flipping break, you bunch of pussies. That's all you fucking cops are. Without that fucking Glock or that Sig Sauer in your holster, you'd be a fucking pussy. Fucking 5-year-old could kick you in the nuts and drop you pigs without those guns. So don't give me your little veiled threats. Give me a break. What the hell is that? We got cops right here in my town. New young rookie. He's 5'4". He looks like he's 12 years old. Jeez. There's girls living here in the apartment complex that can knock his ass out and take his gun away from him. He looks like such a prick. He was here the other night because some guy's yelling at his wife. He didn't hit her, didn't pull a gun on her, nothing like that. Just to show you how bad this is getting with the cops in my town. And by the way, back when I was doing the Columbine research, when I first moved in here, radio talk show hosts were calling my home number. I wasn't using a cell phone for phone calls in. I was using a landline through Quest, which we became CenturyLink. When they would call me, the number would come up City of Brighton. I'm not kidding you. They were routing the calls through the police station and then coming in here. Now, when I moved here, and I had already done dozens of talk shows before I moved here, everything was already out there by 2003 when I moved here. These were just new talk show hosts that had never talked to anybody about Columbine. They were actually referred to me by other talk show hosts that I had talked to, and they said, you got to talk to this guy. You got to read the documents he's got. You got to see the video he's got. This is mind-blowing. So why would the city of Brighton even be concerned? I'll tell you why. Because this is a fucking paranoid police department made up of a bunch of little faggots. That's why. And they're probably going to call from Jefferson County. Oh, you got to keep track of WZabel. He might be dangerous. Yeah, I'm dangerous. Yeah. There you go, bitch. I got what you didn't want loose. Okay? You didn't want that news footage loose, and I guarantee you, you didn't want Michael Corbin's video loose. That's why you killed his ass on Highway 85 outside of Greeley. Now, I know Corbin had some issues, but he ran the website and the radio show for a closer look. He was as gay as Liberace, okay? And he drank and he smoked and he cussed. But you know something? When you needed something, he was there. You needed a ride, as long as he could get to you and get you where you need to go, you were fine. He did the job for years. He worked on Oklahoma City. You have to remember, he was a reporter for BBC. Most people don't know that. Actually, let me correct that. He was a stringer for BBC and he worked with a reporter. I forgot that. He's the one that was called to Columbine High School by the reporter that he worked with for BBC and said, we got a big shooting out in Jefferson County, we got to go. He's the one, him and his reporter snuck around the back of the school. They went through the police cordon. They were at the back of the school and nobody is supposed to be back there. Him and his guy popped up out of the ditch by the baseball field and recorded the state patrol and that green minivan and that black van. Now, we'll tell you a little thing about the black van. You'll see it. There is other news footage that I've given to people and that I will put up on YouTube. There are teenagers that get out of the back of this black Ford panel van. Now, I can't see who they are, But it's very strange that all of the students of the school were coming out of Columbine, and then they were loading them into police cars and taking off. But that black panel van was backed up to the library doors. So that means the kids got in. Now, could that be kids that they didn't want anybody to know about? For those of you who watch my other video, you know about many of the experts in the international political arena that thought that Columbine was some type of signal to Serbian President Milosevic, Slobodan Milosevic, to stand down because of the NATO shields at Columbine. And when he said he was stepping down, quote, for the children, playing in the background on his TV was CNN footage of the Columbine shooting. That's what they call a back channel. Our government was communicating to him through a back channel, and he was communicating back to NATO and us in a back channel saying, yes, I know about Columbine. I know the children died. I know my children are next. I'm stepping down. Many, many people have believed that for years. I didn't even start that theory or that supposition. That was already out there by people who do political science. They do international politics for a living. They either teach it in the universities or they work for the government. The guy I got it from worked for NATO. He's the one that called into a radio show that I was on and said, Bill, this is a back channel message to Milosevic, and it's a back channel message in many ways to the American people. The American people knew that NATO was bombing the crap out of Bosnia. Nobody wanted it. What did Boris Yeltsin say? Does anybody remember what Boris Yeltsin said when he talked to Bill Clinton? And it was public because it was in the, I think in the Rose Garden. He said, you are destroying the new world order. Everybody knew we had no business bombing Bosnia. Was Columbine a way to end that and get Slobodan Milosevic out? Could have been. I do know that Robin Anderson and Joe Stair went to meet with Bill Clinton because Joe Stair and Robin Anderson being the girl who bought the guns for Harris and Klebold, and Joe Stair being the creator of the Trenchcoat Mafia, which he actually didn't create it. The U.S. Marshal's Office created the Trenchcoat Mafia. That's in the documents. When they started finding these parents who were talking about the Trenchcoat Mafia, one parent said, don't blame the kids for this. Go talk to the U.S. Marshal's Office. U.S. Marshal's Office admitted they created the Trenchcoat Mafia. Okay, anyways, here we go. Anyways, one of the things that came out of this was I found out after talking to a guy I know at Amtrak down here in Denver. He said, oh yeah, everybody knew Joe Stair and Robin Anderson got on the train. He says, everybody was looking at him with this disgusting look like, what are you doing? Where are you two filthy people going? He said, man, people were pissed. They didn't want to sit next to him or anything. He says, people were changing seats to stay away from him. But they went to Washington, D.C. And I checked Bill Clinton's itinerary. Bill Clinton met with 2 Colorado area high school students about gun control 3 days before the Columbine shooting. Gotcha, bitches. Gotcha again, man. You are done. I got your ass again. And you want to elect Hillary Clinton? Really? After what her husband did and what she's done, what they've both done at Mena, Arkansas, what they did at Columbine High School, you really want to elect this bitch? You go right ahead, man. You go right ahead. Because this country's done if she gets elected. It's over. Anyways, let me get back on task. So anyways, this guy, you know, we had a roundabout talk, and it was obvious that this clown he had to be a cop or intel or something. And he wasn't trying to spook me. He wasn't threatening me or anything. He was just playing the, I'm a government official. You're a sheeple. Shut the hell up. I'm going to shut up. Fuck him, you know. Fuck him. You know, he can suck my dick as far as I'm concerned. You know, these guys don't scare me anymore. You know, I'm done. You know, I got over being scared years ago. You burned out my ignition. You tried to lure me out to Nevada, out to the desert. I mean, please, what am I, a 10-year-old girl? You know, and you're trying to lure me into a van with candy? Please. Now, if you're Taylor Swift and you show up and say, Billy, get in the car, get some candy. Hey, man, I'm with that chick, you know. You know, same thing if it be Sharon Stone, you know, or Jessica Biel or something like that. Yeah, you show me all the candy you want, man. I'm getting in the car, babe. You know, but that's, you know, that's my dream, you know, whatever, you know. But these guys, and there was another researcher. They finally burned. They finally burned a guy in Phoenix. He came up. Tribble, Justin Tribble. I remember him now. And he came up, and I gave him all the documents. I gave him copies of all the news footage and stuff. And he wrote a book about Columbine, but he didn't really touch on anything. He just talked about questions. He didn't go as far as I did. Well, supposedly, he made some kind of threat over the internet to a school, supposedly. And they hauled him in, and they charged him with a federal crime. He did like 2 years in jail. I think it was a supermax, because he said, oh man, I couldn't wait to get out of there. He says, 1 hour outside a day, and that was it. The rest of the time you're in your cell. That's a supermax. He didn't act like he was set up, so I don't know what the deal is with him. He didn't try to apologize or say, oh man, I was set up or anything. He just said that's what happened to me. So I was like, okay, whatever, There are other things too about Columbine. One of the things that I ran into is there was a lady whose next door neighbor was an Arapahoe County Sheriff's deputy, and he's one of the deputies called when they called for the mutual assistance that day. He was at Columbine till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Around 11:30 that night, him and another Arapahoe County Sheriff's deputy, and I believe it was possibly either Lakewood or a Nevada police officer, along with these other 2 deputies that saw, because there was 2 sheriff's deputies and 1 city police officer, that's right, saw the ATF bring in the fuel air bomb, and that's the way they described it. Now, if you've seen the footage that I put up about Columbine, you'll see that they talked about that being so sophisticated that it was using mercury switches. Well, I had some fucking loudmouth, you get these loudmouths. He said, oh, mercury switches, they just went down to the heating supply store and got them. That's not what ATF said when they pulled the bomb out of there. They said this was military-grade hardware. I don't think the mercury switch in your thermostat qualifies as military-grade. And they weren't calling the plumbing and heating supply stores. They checked Peterson Air Force Base. At that time, it was out here in Aurora. It wasn't an Air Force base yet. It was still a National Guard base out here, the National Guard base in Aurora. They checked there. They were looking everywhere. They even checked the Army facility out by the Arsenal. There's a Army training facility there where they keep a lot of hardware. You don't look for plumbing and heating supply mercury switches on a military base. Okay? That was a military-grade bomb. There were several of them in the school. In fact, there were 24 propane tanks of the 20-pound variety in the school. And John Stone, when was asked, the former sheriff, who's now a total alcoholic, I mean, the media just drove him wild till he went alky on everybody. He says, I think they just rushed the door with it all. We tried that. I tried that with the 2 of the biggest, strongest high school guys I could find, both football players. I gave them $200 each, and we got permission to go to Columbine and do this. And they tried carrying 12 propane tanks, empty, not even full, empty, in 2 duffel bags. And they would get to the door. As soon as they get to the door, they touch the door, and I'd turn the timer off. They couldn't do it. They had to drag the duffel bags. They couldn't even carry it. And these 2 were high school football players, the best of the best, 6 feet tall, couldn't do it. But they said Harris and Klebold rushed the doors and were inside in less than 36 seconds. Not happening. Not happening. And if you read the witness statements, that's not how it happened anyways. You read the witness statements, they will talk about, quote, men dressed in black. Men. When was the last time you heard a 16-year-old high school student call a 17-year-old high school student a man? The men were the men in the green minivan dressed in black. One of them was Thomas Klebold. The guy in the back seat was the sniper. If you saw a sniper rifle in the video, you saw the little stars on the butt. That's his hits. That's his kills. The driver, is probably just another SWAT officer. Okay? That van was under escort leaving the property, which means they were trying to keep other cops away from that van because cops knew that there was a special operations team in there. By the way, the special operations team came from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. It's called Division 5. It's on the 4th floor of the Taj Mahal. Gary Webb talked about this before he died. He talked about Division 5 of the FBI and how they covered for the CIA drug running. And he mentions Division 5 as having an office in Colorado, but he didn't know where at the time. That was the early 90s. He talked about Division 5 as being a cutout, really, for the CIA. Even though they were FBI, they were actually working for the CIA. Okay, other crazy things. Chris Morris was the suspect on the roof with the sniper rifle. It looks like he had a Bushmaster. Looks like the most probable weapon he had. They found 223 shell casings on the roof of Columbine High School. They weren't matched to any known weapon. That's in the documents. They just have 223 shell casing with its evidence number and then a little line and then a blank space where it should have been matched to an officer's gun. First of all, no officer fired on the roof of Columbine High School because the cops didn't get up there till after the shooting was over and the suspects were dead. So who fired from the roof of the school with a Bushmaster? Well, guess what? AR-15s and certain other types of weapons can also use a 223, though it's very dangerous to use 223s and AR-15 because of the high pressure. You can actually have blowback. I do find it suspicious that Chris Morris's mother, who works for the Glendale Police Department, lost an AR-15 a month before the Columbine shooting. When she was on a traffic stop, she left her trunk open. You know, the cops have those old meters where they measure distances. She left her trunk open and somebody took her AR-15. Now, like I said, the chances of the police department loading an AR-15 with 223s is remote because of the blowback. You can do it, but it creates a lot of high pressure gases in the cylinder and can cause blowback on the shooter. So either she had a Bushmaster, which it's possible. There's one Brighton cop here in Brighton that has a Bushmaster. So it's possible that she had a Bushmaster, but that's not the weapon they found in the Clements Park Lake. The weapon they found in the lake, submerged in the mud, was an AR-15. So ask yourself that, what's going on there. By the way, Chris Morris was the one that acted like the great victim and witness, and oh my God, I saw it. I saw the whole thing. Really? You weren't even supposed to be at school. You were suspended, you moron. What were you doing on school property? By the way, Joe Stair was there too, saying, I saw the whole thing. Really? You graduated last year. You were trespassing. What were you doing there? There you go. Most researchers never went this far as I did. Most of them were like, oh, they had sex education at Columbine. They were the first school in Colorado to get it. Oh, they had death education. Remember Tara Becker talked about it. I think she talked to the Eagle Forum, Phyllis Schlafly, and then she talked to 60 Minutes. So that was the whole crux to Columbine, according to people like D.V. Kidd, John DeCamp. John DeCamp is a total failure. I'm sorry, guys. But he came away from Columbine. Oh, the video games did it. Please, give me a friggin' break. The FBI sits around and plays Call of Duty all day, so all of a sudden they got this thing in their head they're going to go do school shootings. Give me a break. Give me a break. You know? A lot of these other researchers, that's all they wanted to do. That's all they wanted to do is go down that road. Anyways, I can tell you right now, they were hiding so many more things. The Mormon Seminary House is the second house from the end on the street just south of Columbine High School. There is a tunnel that goes from underneath Columbine High School to the Mormon Seminary House. Local SWAT found it when they were clearing out the basement. There are classrooms on the bottom floor and the cafeteria, but you can actually go down another level and there's a sub-basement below that. When SWAT was down there, it included SWAT from Jefferson County, the first team. Arvada was the second team. Arapahoe County was the third team. Jefferson County called, said they found a door that went to a type of utility tunnel. They wanted to know where it went. Arvada and Arapahoe decided to back up Jefferson County. They were like, well, this is not good. There could be somebody down there. They came up in the basement of the Mormon seminary house. That's in the documents. That's in the SWAT after action report, that they came out in the basement of the Mormon seminary house. Strange, huh? There is a place called Devil's Head above Columbine. I've been up there. Looking at Devil's Head, if you use a telescope and you look down from Devil's Head, you're looking right in the library windows of Columbine High School. You got to have a pretty powerful telescope. A week before the Columbine shooting, a girl that went to Overland Trail, I think it was Overland Trail, don't quote me on that, it might have been one of the other schools, because I think Overland Trail was an elementary school, but she was 13 years old, so it had to be a junior high school. She was sacrificed in a satanic ritual at Devil's Head, up there above Columbine. It really freaked people in Jefferson County out. It really did. Weird stuff. Tonight is quiet. Last night wasn't. There was a lot of weird things going on. Tonight is pretty decent, but I will tell you, not sure how many more of these videos I'm going to do, because I'm really watching things. Instead of spending a lot of time on the internet, I'm really watching a lot of the crazy stuff that's going on out here. We're getting weird stuff. I mean, guys beating their girlfriends, beating their wives, drinking, throwing beer bottles. That's normal in my town. But some of the other weird things, we get a lot of weird people walking around. Like I said, a couple of them come up and talk to me by name. Oh, you're the great William Zabel, did the Columbine research. And it's like, why after all these years am I getting these kinds of weirdos come out of the woodwork? The hell's that all about? I don't know, man. I don't know. I will try to get to another video Friday. I have my surveillance package coming from the FBI. For a lot of you who are researchers and are under FBI surveillance, you can file a FOIA. I did. The package that's coming for me is coming registered mail, post office, and it's almost 6 pounds. It'll fit in a 4-inch notebook binder. That's all what they could declassify of the surveillance on me. And that includes FBI, hopefully Brighton Police Department. I want to know why the Brighton Police Department was so interested. It also includes the Johnstown Police Department, because I was on Don Wiedeman's show at the American Freedom Network in 1999, 2000, 2001, and 2002. It includes surveillance from the city where John Bryant was located. He had Kingdom Ministries radio show. I was on his show. He's out in California. Their police department was recording the show. Denver Police Department, Jefferson County, FBI, and there's a couple of others in there. I'll see what it is. They're saying it should be here Friday, but I just did the postal tracking thing, and they're saying it'll actually be here tomorrow, which is great. My day off, Thursday, I'll get a good chance to look at it. Give you an idea, whatever they're surveilling on me is probably the same thing they're doing to other researchers. So I can put this on the internet, put it on YouTube, and then other researchers can go, I can expect this then. So, hopefully that'll be a help to other people once they see it, and, we can go from there. Signing off for now. Trying to keep the lights low. I'm tired of what goes on out here. We got the old hospital to the south of us, and there's people that sit up on the second floor, the janitors and stuff, and they can look right in the bedroom windows here, the apartment complex. They can look right in. We're at the same level, and I'm like, I'm tired of a bunch of, freaky, people checking me out or whatever. It's like, don't like that crap at all. So, anyways, this is William Zabel, the great Columbine researcher, as some weirdos who call me say. Just call me Bill, whatever. I'm not great. If I was great, this thing would have been completely solved and people been in jail years ago. I'm just trying to keep the story alive so that somebody will say, you know what, it's 20 years down the road. I'm not going to hide from this any longer. I'm going to talk about what I knew. Oh, by the way, I'm going to let you know before I sign off, there is a guy named Eric Smith. He had a son named David Smith who was at Columbine High School. David Smith saw 4 suspects. Eric Smith, I caught on to him a few years ago. He installed the water softeners at my car wash. I didn't put it together. The voice sounded familiar, but I didn't catch on to the face. Bing a bang a boom, a few years ago, I'm like, holy crap, this same guy. So I questioned him. I say, hey, did your kid ever go to Columbine High School? And he goes, you mean where that shooting happened down there in southern Colorado? And I'm like, well, it's not southern Colorado, it's southern Jefferson County. Oh, no. He says, I've heard of the place. And he says, I think I've been down there, but near there. But he says, no, why? I said, well, there was an Eric Smith. His voice sounded a lot like you, and you look a lot like him, with a son named David Smith who claims saw 4 suspects. Oh, no, you're not one of those conspiracy guys, are you? And I'm like, oh, shit, isn't this wonderful now? And he's like, oh, you don't really believe there's anything to that, do you? And I said, were you there? And he goes, no, that's not me. Well, it's bullshit. I checked. I've done LexisNexis. There's only one Eric Smith in his age group in Colorado, okay? And he's an ex-Navy SEAL, okay? So if you're ever in Brighton, stop by the Culligan office. It's across the street from McDonald's, and say, hey, you're that Eric Smith guy whose son saw 4 suspects. How come you won't admit you were there? Ha ha ha. Ask him that. I've had people claim that they've never been anywhere near Columbine High School. I had one guy said, you're fucking crazy. I don't even know where that school's at. And his son comes out of the bedroom. They had moved up to Broomfield. And his son comes out of the bedroom with a Columbine High School jacket on. I said, what's that? And he goes, oh, he knows somebody at Columbine. They let him have their jacket. These people are so scared of whatever went on there that even when they get caught because they have a Columbine yearbook or they have a Columbine High School jacket, I don't even know where that place is. You're crazy. You're a conspiracy nut. So think about that in case you ever run into somebody from Columbine who claims they weren't there even though you know they were there. But anyways, if you're ever in Brighton, stop by Culligan, talk to Eric Smith. He owns the place. Hey, maybe the reason he owns Culligan is because the government paid him off to keep his mouth shut. Hey, if you and your kid keep your mouth shut, we'll buy you a Culligan franchise. Those freaking things are about $1 million, I think, nowadays. So, anyways, just thought I'd throw that in. So, anyways, till next time, this is Billy Bedlam 66 signing off.